One of the biggest highlights from Kendrick Lamar's new surprise album, GNX, without question, is Reincarnated. Like, when this album unexpectedly dropped, within an hour, I was listening to it, and as I go through the tracks, I'm enjoying the new Kendrick album, and then I run into track 6, which starts out with Dara Barrera delivering a nice vocal in Spanish. Seconds after that, I get chills because I instantly realize that that beat that I'm listening to came from a lesser known 2pac song from the gang-related soundtrack called Made Niggaz. This song didn't play on the radio, it wasn't released as an official single, nothing like that. But I do remember on a DVD that came with an album that I bought, I don't remember if it was Are You Still Down, but whatever I bought came with this additional DVD where you had a few bonus 2pac videos and some 2pac footage. And one of those videos was that Made Niggaz song from that gang-related soundtrack. Now, gang-related dropped in 1997, late 97, so about a year after 2pac died. And I remember the song having a low-budget music video with 2pac holding the camera as he's rapping his verse. And again, that beat, you just can't forget that piano sound on the beat. And that song also had verses from the Outlawz. And for some reason, that track always stood out to me. Like, it was something about those sinister keys, and I mean, there was a lot of good music, and it really reinforces and reminds you how much recording 2pac did in that short window of time before his murder. But yeah, that song always stood out to me. So when I'm listening to this Kendrick album and I hear that beat, and then I hear how Kendrick is delivering his verses, he's spitting these verses with that aggression and with some of that ferocity that 2pac was known for. So that further sent chills. And I mean, the song itself is very interesting on that Kendrick album, Reincarnated, because he is he's basically taking on past lives as past entertainers. I still can't really think of who that first verse is. He's talking about getting kicked out of the house in Michigan in like 1947, having like a guitar on him. I'm like, it's not Chuck Berry. Some people thought that it was Jackie Wilson, who's more known as being a great vocalist. I don't think it's Jimi Hendrix. Some people think John Lee Hooker, the old blues player. But yeah, I can't really get a read on who that first verse is about, but I have a theory on the second one. I personally think that it was Billie Holiday. I've heard Dinah Washington tossed out there. I've heard Tammy Terrell, who was Marvin Gaye's like duets partner in the mid 60s. Now, Tammy Terrell did die young, but she died of brain cancer. It wasn't like a heroin addiction that did her in. So I don't think that it was her, but I've heard that being theorized as well. But I'm gonna stick with my personal theory of Billie Holiday. But yeah, Reincarnated, very interesting song. And the last verse is about Kendrick Lamar. So it's self-reflective. And then halfway into the verse, he's getting guidance from like a deity of some sorts. And then you realize that he is reimagining the devil and retelling the devil's story through his own lens. So yeah, it is quintessential Kendrick in the sense that you have to decipher and decode and interpret some of the cryptic language. But yeah, really cool song. And again, it harkened back and it channeled Kendrick's inner 2pac. Again, not just through the vocal delivery, but through the beat itself from that Made Niggaz track, who was, by the way, or which was produced by Johnny J. That's who produced that 2pac beat. And for those of you that don't know, Johnny J, his career, he needs to be reevaluated, because when 2pac had that short stint on death row, right after he got bailed out of jail, his last album before going to jail was Me Against the World. Johnny J had one produced beat on Me Against the World. It was Death Around the Corner, the second to last track on that album. But if you look at All Eyes on Me, Dr. Dre is wrongly credited with basically producing that album. That was not a Dr. Dre production. He was 1 foot in, 1 foot out of death row by the time that album was even created. So Dr. Dre only had 2 beats that he's responsible for from All Eyes on Me. It was California Love, both versions, the singles version, even though it had 2 different videos, but Dr. Dre produced both of those, and then he produced Can't See Me, track 1 on disc 2. That was all that Dre produced from that album. Now, that Daz Dillinger, he produced, a few beats. Mike Mosley produced a couple. DJ Quick produced a couple. But Johnny J has more significant credits on that album than everybody else. Like Johnny J, if I was to say who did like the lion's share of the production on All Eyes on Me, I would say Daz comes in number 2, Johnny J comes in number 1. I mean, he produced All About You, Every Other City We Go. He produced How Do You Want It? He produced Life Goes On. That's one of my favorite songs on All Eyes on Me. One of my favorite pop tracks in general. He produced What's Your Phone Number? He produced Shorty Wanna Be a Thug. He produced You Wonder Why They Call You. He produced Thug Passion, Picture Me Rolling, All Eyes on Me, the title track. He produced Checkout Time. Yeah, Johnny J was serious business on All Eyes on Me, and he also produced Made Niggaz, which Kendrick Lamar and his producers, Soundwave, Jack Antonoff, M-Tech, Noah Ether, that they sample that Johnny J 2pac beat. But yeah, I love that Made Niggaz track, and I'm really liking Reincarnated. One of my favorite highlights from this GNX album. But yeah, let me know what you think about the album overall. I just did a video with my instant reaction to the album drop and what my first takeaways were. Check that out if you haven't, and let me know your thoughts, one, about the GNX album, but also about this Reincarnated track specifically. And it's appropriately titled Reincarnated because he is living the past lives of those past entertainers, but he's also channeling his inner 2pac, which is ironic because when Drake dropped that second diss, Tailor Made, he used an AI generated 2pac voice to diss Kendrick. So Kendrick is pretty much reclaiming 2pac in a sense with this track as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about the album. What are some of your favorite tracks from it? What are some of your biggest highlights? Again, Reincarnated might be my favorite highlight from this album. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love hip hop like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.